And our next guest once said in an interview with Doctor Who magazine that he's not sure he could tell the difference between Hamlet and Doctor Who. I think we can, and I don't see a Hamlet convention taking place in Manchester this week. But to Mathew Waterhouse. And the interview's panel is Mr. Jason Lithgow.
Wasn't me. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Mathew. Welcome to Manopticon 5. Look at this. Rubbish lying around. It's disgraceful, isn't it? Right then. We just heard that Sarah, she was a bright young girl from the Triarchate Union. Big expert on Sci-Fi and Genesis and depending on the story. There's a passion for purple chords, I think, remember.
Velvet.
Oh, sorry, I stand corrected.
What's velvet?
And then Patrick, he was an Algerian stalwart of old people.
Have a passion for pajamas.
Green wellies.
Green wellies.
It really struck me was really good at maths. Shame you couldn't tell him using a whistle.
Don't worry, it's going to look hard. Jokes in it.
That's it, that's all the jokes.
That's the joke, that's the joke, folks.
Doesn't get any better than that. Why? Right, off we go. A lot of fans tend to we just see you and they'll see, oh, it's Patrick, it's Nissa. But you are people behind, and there was life. There was life before Doctor Who, and there's certainly life after as you will be here. So perhaps we should start with your early days. Sarah, you started off with ballet school.
Yes, I went to ballet school when I was 7 and a half, and it was while I was at ballet school that I got picked up there to do room in Winnie the Pooh, and I was 9 years old then. That was at the Phoenix Theatre in Port Road in West End, and I did that for 3 Christmas seasons. It was a children's musical by Julian Slade, who wrote Salad Days, and I loved it. I had a wonderful time. All my friends were off on Christmas holidays. I was going up to London every day and doing 2 shows on Boxing Day. I think I just had the most wonderful time. And then I went into television for my first telly when I was 11. I played a little girl called Belinda in a series called Menace. It was a one-off play, the boys and girls come out to play. And I played a very strange little girl who went out at night. She was given a musical box for her birthday which played Boys and Girls Come Out to Play, The Moon Does Shine As Bright As Day. And she went out into the streets at night and she saw ghosts in the street. She also witnessed a murder being committed, and she realised the woman committing the murder was the mother of a friend of hers, and she used this to bribe all sorts of people. Her father was a bent copper, and he was on the murder case. And so there's all sorts of goings on there, and in the end she shoves her friend into the cement mix. So it's a nice jolly little part for an 11-year-old girl to have. I went on to lots of other lovely tennis, I was very lucky. And then I got to watch it all finished.
So, you left acting now?
Let's rephrase that. I've not done a lot of work since I left Doctor Who. And other things have happened in my life. I've got married and have a daughter now. And yes, I do have a life. I planted my run of beans the other day and my carrots and lettuce and things like that. So I do have a life, but I'm starting to think about acting more now that my daughter's coming up to 6.
So you're intending to return?
Well, I don't know return, so I don't think I can really left, but it's just happened that there hasn't been much work around and I've filled my life with other things. But I would certainly like to work again, yes. But I'm not totally sure whether it's going to be acting.
Mathew, you actually, I think, if my research is correct, started at the BBC as a clerk.
Well, yeah, I started as a clerk for a month. I'm not quite sure how I got it or why I got it. I sat there for a month cutting up newspapers and filing them away, filing clippings. What a way to make a living. So I did that, but I did it for a month. That was completely unrelated, though, to my winding up doing a TV show for 7 more days at one of those sort of BBC, sort of look around BBC dramas about coming to school without time, all the rage. So I did that, and that led directly to Doctor Who, because I had asked, I heard about it, and I asked the BBC if I could put me up for And I think John talked to the director of the one day and said, "Is he any good?" And I said, "Yeah, he's fine." And so the one led directly to the other. But as regards to Doctor Who, I think about a month after I got my equity card.
So, how did you get with Doctor Who?
My agent rang and said you've got an interview at the BBC for the series Doctor Who to play a girl in one of the stories they're doing. So I went along and I met the director, John Black, and I met the producer. I read the script for both of them and they said, fine, well, off we go. And a few days later my agent phoned and said, yes, you've got the part.
At the time, wasn't it just like a guest appearance?
Yes.
For a trial. You weren't, it was just a self-contained story.
I understand, but I can't swear to this, but I understand that she was only supposed to be for people to trial, and they decided at some point, I don't know when, that it would be a good idea to keep her on.
So you're quite happy with
Yeah.
more money. Regular job.
Regular work.
Regular work. And Peter, I was just looking here, since you left Doctor Who, you went on to do a lot of theatre work. And got things like Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, yeah. You did Miss Alliance, I've never both done. Not the same production.
Not the same production, no.
Where did you do yours?
I was on tour in Fields.
Oh, right.
Outdoors.
I did mine at Camden Lock.
Did you?
It was for Health, is it Capital Health London Chart? Capital Radio Health London Chart? Is that
Oh, fab.
yeah, so we did a sort of condensed version of it, and we set it in a circus, so we were like circus performers. And initially the director said, you've all got to learn a circus trade so that you'll be unicyclists. And this was by Camden Lock. I never did learn to ride a unicycle. I had visions of all these poor actors unicycling into the canal, it would have been a complete disaster.
So really, your careers took like separate paths, and I believe you haven't met each other since you actually left Doctor Who.
I don't know, 82? Would that be 82?
We both look exactly the same.
Of course. Yeah. We haven't aged a job.
No.
So,
doesn't come already.
When you were all together back in the TARDIS albums a couple of years ago, there was quite crowded at the time.
Yeah.
Packed with people.
There were too many of us, I think. Do you not feel?
No, I don't.
Do you not
No,
feel so? I think for story-wise, I think there were too many. I think that's why I was sort of told to have a headache and go and lie down in a darkened room for 2 episodes for Kindle, so that Janet could have a decent story, and it did turn out to be her strongest story, and I assume that was one of the reasons, unless there were other reasons, which I wasn't told about. Do you not think so?
No, I don't agree. I think that those three people and Doctor Who and the TARDIS, there's a sort of nice buzz and nice night. They're very lively. They bicker and fight with each other in the way that people who like each other and spend all their time together give what they don't do. I think it's sweet and rather, even though one of them is actually human. I think their relations are rather human and sweet. I like them very much. I like all those characters very much. And I like the feeling of the TARDIS. It's not the first time they did it. They did it way back at the beginning, as you know. That's the way it was, I think, all through William Hartnell's time. And I think it's rather, because when you have an extra character, you don't just have one extra character, you have 3 extra relationships. And I like that multicasting. I think it was a loose, nice, tender, funny, bitchy relationship between all of them. But in a crude way, it rings true. I think it's nice and light.
So you don't feel in any way that your characters lost out? You didn't get a chance to write characters as you would like to see them go? Or maybe you're losing scenes to other colleagues?
I don't think we were. I think we were too young to be as quite as bitter and twisted as that.
It didn't occur to me at the time very much, but looking back at it, I think perhaps we did. I've never tried writing a Doctor Who story, but with half 25 minutes or whatever it was for each episode, to get everything happening that should be happening and sort out all these different relationships. And you've got to split all these people up at some point. You can't have them all traipsing around together in the same story. So as it went here, Nissa was sent to go and make something, do something clever. So I think maybe it did fragment it a little bit. But I see Matthew's point. I can see it did make for a sort of a livelier TARDIS. I think it can become a little bit static with just the Doctor and Wallace.
idea evolve with on day one? I mean, did you have any input of how to play? How did you decide to play the characters?
I didn't have any input. Did you have any input in your character?
No.
Just giving the script and trying to get on with it, really. I think Nissa changed quite a lot. Early on, she was very sweet and naive, and I think, as a reflection, her hair got sort of looser and less curly, and her clothes got a bit more sort of sexy. And I think she sort of loosened up a lot. She grew up during the time, and to the point she came to make a mature decision about staying on feminist.
Yes, I think there's a nice arc around it. I think it's actually structured and patterned quite nicely. I think it's accidental. I mean, nobody's actually sitting around planning these things in their own way. I mean, with all the will in the world, you can't, if you're writing a Doctor Who story, spend all your time worrying about the depth of Doctor Who companions. It just can't do it. It just isn't the room, and it would be silly to be annoyed. It would be silly and foolish and actively irritated by the limitations of the Doctor Who companion, because they're part of the course. There's no other way you can do it. People have tried. But one of the things I do think is that John tried very hard to make the companions more surprising, have different kinds of companions. I think that was one of the many things that he did very well with. To his great credit, he tried to find new facets and new dimensions and new approaches. And I think within reason, within the limitations, Doctor Who did so.
So, I mean, your exit certainly was very abrupt. Boom. He's gone. Is there any way you would like to see the characters go before they change?
I didn't like it at the time. I've seen it now again, and I think it's really, really kind of special. I think it's. I'm not.
Very strong. I mean, you didn't sort of. But I was so frightened that I was going to be sort of told to go off hand in hand into the sunset with some alien person. I thought it was going to be so weak and such awful ways. So I was quite pleased with the way she went. Well, you can't get more dramatic than that text.
Because I understand poor old Louise Jameson, who thought that her character should die. She said this character's on Warrior at night. She the only way he knows that. Well, they had her fall in love.
Yes.
And I think I understand she didn't think that made any sense at all.
No, I can't.
So if you could have chosen a way to, if you had to die, how would the boundary work?
If he had to die, well, there are lots of ways. I think it was pretty neat. I always liked Simon. Cybermen were cool monsters. I mean, they're sort of second most.
And you still like them after they killed you?
Oh, more.
It was a good story though, Earthshock, wasn't it?
Earthshock.
It was a good, strong story anyway. So
Yeah.
it was nice.
I mean, Eric was. I think one of the things that Eric said was really good at Doctor Who was making it. He was very good at space thrillers that were really thrilling, that were really edge of the seat exciting. It's one of the things he was very good at. And making Doctor Who a very 80s thing, while still recognisably the same thing that John Bowley was, the same thing even as Patrick was, but in a very 80s, very fast way. He was very good at Earthshock, Earthshock presentation of the two first of his stabs at doing Doctor Who in an 80s thrillerish kind of way. And they are some of the most viscerally exciting episodes of Doctor Who. That's fair to say, isn't it? Do you agree with that? I think they're actually very exciting, really.
So, when you left, was it, Mathew just said it was difficult, too unhappy. When you left, was it time for you to move on?
People often ask me, was it your decision to leave? To be perfectly frank, and this sounds so dippy, I can't actually remember. But I would imagine that probably it was the same story. I just don't think they renewed my contract. That's the way things go. I think probably I may have liked to stay on a bit longer. But in retrospect, it probably was a good time to go.
So you didn't have any idea that Andrew was going to try to see
He was going to die, no.
Did you have
They hit the script away. I think they thought I was going to get very upset about it.
Crying.
No, I had no idea he was going to die, no. It's very spooky, it's very strange. Particularly, the thing is that both of us, Sarah and I, both talk about ourselves as teenagers, as to some extent unformed personality. We're not, if I was 40 talking about myself at 30, it would be different, wouldn't it? Than us talking about ourselves as basically children, or just about being children. And that actually, and when you're a kid, it's very, doing a death scene is very strange. Without being sort of melodramatic, it's very spooky. It's a very strange feeling, particularly with a character who's lived with for a long time.
certainly both your characters are really quite tragic in their own. Yeah, tragic pasts. I mean, Nessa, she lost her father, to be honest, and then just then Stella went, and then they just found someone and clicked. Then they got planning to end. Metal Orionis went.
She didn't have a good start, did she? So really, poor thing. Yeah, but I think that's quite nice though, because it does give you something to sort of to start on.
Yeah, so jump forward. So, do you have any? I know it's a question that everybody asks. It's really what favourite stories?
For me, Black Orchid, because I'm not particularly science fiction fan, and it was nice for me to do a story which didn't have a science fiction base. And I got to play 2 parts, and I got to change my costume, which for Janet and I was a real coup. We thought this was really good news. We got to wear something else. So I enjoyed that. I've gone known as my first story and my last story for obvious reasons. And I think Earthshot was a really good, strong story. I think it comes out as one of my favourites. But they're all, I think we work with so many lovely people, and there's always going to be something. The only story I didn't like was Time Flight. I didn't understand it.
Time Flight, wasn't that the one you made guest appearances in films?
Yes. Oh, about 5 seconds.
See, we couldn't kill you off.
No, you couldn't get rid of me.
What's the context then of you coming back as a ghost?
I don't know. I just appeared.
Someone here will be able to tell us.
I think I was a creative. I wasn't actually it wasn't a ghost of me. It was an illusion created by the master to spook you out, as I remember. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, you both returned again for Peter's last scene, the regeneration. Remember much about that?
That was done last minute, I seem to remember. It was at 5 to 10 at night in the studio. They just threw us in. And I seem to remember I was rehearsing for playing Cinderella in Gravesend. It was from December time we did that. And I didn't know it then, but I had chicken pox. And the second week of rehearsals, I was doing Cinderella. I went home for the weekend and I was absolutely shattered. Oh my God, where are these spots? And I said, you've got chicken pox. So I played Cinderella with chicken pox. Spotty Cinderella.
So, did you have any problems with coming back to Doctor Who? You were like, right, you're dead. And so, coming back, was that a problem for you?
For me, I mean, to be completely honest, I've always loved Doctor Who. It was always, like, when I was a child, it was my favourite show. It was a big deal. It was the most exciting show on TV. And coming back to a regeneration between you and me, don't tell anybody else, was actually pretty exciting. Well, I did 2. We both did 2 regenerations, which I think in Doctor Who history is quite a scarce thing, isn't it? And that was the case. So no, I didn't have a problem at all. It was nice. But Peter's last moment, I think, was just done very nicely. Very beautifully handled.
You did mention you both did Tom's regeneration as well, and you both came in towards Tom's long run. Did you notice, how was the feel of Tom at that time? It was all changed,
Well,
new faces, old faces films.
for me, I find it very, I hadn't long been on the programme, and I was very nervous, and as we said, I was only 19 at the time, and I think I was quite naive and quite innocent, really. And I found it actually quite stressful when Tom worked. I think the atmosphere was quite heightened in the studio. Tom had been there for 7 years, and it was, and as with the nature of recording Doctor Who, it's always rush. There's never enough time. There's always too much to do. And come 9:30, everyone starts to panic because you see all these scenes they've got to do, and you're not allowed to record after 10 o'clock unless you get special permission, and then only until 10:15. Well, this is as it was then. I don't know if things have changed. And so it was. You've got all that going on. There's an awful lot going on in the studio that night. And I got home and I was absolutely shattered. But it was. I think it was a very good regeneration.
It was really strange. I seem to remember because it was like the end of Tom, and then when you came back for the first story of Peter, it wasn't actually the first one you
No,
recorded.
it wasn't. We recorded out of I can't remember which one we did first. Was it?
And so it must have been like having to go back to the end of that other story.
Press the rewind button.
Like the hairstyles had changed and Peter's shoes had regenerated as well with the costume.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was really hard for Peter for us. when you're starting as Doctor Who, not starting your first story is pretty hard work. I mean, a little unfair, I think, to ask.
Yeah.
I'm just joking, it's unfortunate the way it worked out. It's a little unfair to ask somebody to do the very first Doctor Who and don't get already really established in it, and they already know what character they're going to, what approach they're going to take. So
it's a strange decision. I seem to think, yeah, perhaps it would have been better if you had done his first story. But did you not feel it was like perhaps so you could get familiar with your character and make it easier?
I don't know what the reason. What was the reason for not doing
I think it's purely. They never do anything for a reason like that. They do it for purely practical reasons. One script is not ready. It's something like that, or a location might suddenly be available. I don't know. There's always a practical reason why they do that.
They wouldn't think of the actors. They always come laugh.
So you did mention that your favourite story would be. That's one of those, like Hawk, that's one of those stories where you just sort of pet all the stories.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, the set designer got very grumpy with me because I kept eating bits of chicken in between takes. He said, don't eat in the set, don't do that. It was a very nice set too, it tasted very good. But it didn't taste so good later in the afternoon, because it was going on a bit by the time we got to the end of it.
So like you said, you did actually get out of your costumes. And because the costumes, you were stuck in those for a long time.
Yes.
I mean,
Janet and I worked very hard on John to try and say, well, they would change their clothes and they would this and that. No.
otherwise it would smell, wouldn't it?
No,
It's a really smelly place.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be
You
said,
didn't see a bathroom, did you?
how often did Doctor Who change his clothes? I mean, it took 6 years for Tom to have changed, didn't it? So we won't be the smelliest people in the house. But what always struck me was that when I joined, Lala Ward was the Doctor Who woman. And she got a new costume every episode. And I thought, oh great, a new costume every episode. I was amazed when I found I was going to have to wear these pajamas forever. I had no idea.
Pajamas with your green wellies.
With the green wellies, and with the pop picking.
So, I mean, was there a conscious decision to actually get out of the purple houses?
Yes, I mean, I didn't have any say in the costume changes we had. But apparently when I started off, I had the little fairy skirt and the jacket, and then John suggested I had trousers, which was much more practical for location for them. He says that he got lots of letters saying, what's happening to his legs? Give us our legs back. So I had to go back into the skirt. And the one that I had for Snake Dives, Peter didn't like that one at all. When I came onto the set the first day, he said, oh my God, you look like something from McDonald's. I'll have a Big Mac and a milkshake, please. So that didn't last very long, although I happen to quite like that costume. It's very compliment. And my last costume, I suppose, is one of my favourites because it refused to be made. And I got to take it off.
Underwear?
Yeah.
So, purple stuff and then the rest away everything off.
Don't ask me why I took my skirt off, I was just told you. But John said, we've got a stomachache. Yeah. So I always take my clothes off when I have a stomachache. I think it was, he felt that it was so pretty, the underwear was so pretty, it was a shame for everyone not to see it before I left. That's his excuse.
Shall we move on? What's happened since Doctor Who?
I've done plays.
And you've worked on, did you do a couple of briefing or one shot?
Yeah, well, that was youngster. That was a guy called Murray Melvin, great actor, fabulously good actor, famous for Jeremy Cooper Theatre Workshop, offered to direct it, and it was just brilliant. It was a thrilling and very scary thing to do. And I did it because at that time I couldn't get a job. That's the reason that we did it, is because Murray wasn't working, I wasn't working. And we thought, well, let's do this, because I always liked Mark Twain. I've always admired him and found him a very funny writer. And that was something to do. And I did it on and off for about 15 months, on and off with other things as well. What a baptism of fire.
When you moved on, you just from the Hamlet.
I did a hand a couple of years ago. You know, Mark Twain actually said a classic is something that nobody wants to read and everybody wishes they'd read. Hamlet is a sort of play that, no, I'm glad I did it. I mean, I didn't really enjoy it because it takes over your life. I mean, it is the biggest part, I think, Shakespeare ever wrote. It takes over your life. But I'm glad I did it, and it says something about you. It's very exciting to become a bureaucrat, to be someone who actually have the idea that you can do it, isn't that true? And so that was pretty exciting to do, but also obsessive. It takes over your life. And I love the fact that I was such an unlikely one. I mean, I'm 5'5" and I'm 4 Asian. I don't look like that. I don't look like a classical Hamlet. But it's kind of quite common now to cast people who are unlikely Hamlet. It's quite common, much more big high-profile productions than the one I was in. You often find surprising. People talk about too many stories. I mean, there are lots of different approaches to it. So that was great. I was brilliant to do it. It was still on my CV.
So, I said you've been acting a little bit, so you've got a bunch of hobbies and things like that.
When I left Doctor Who, I didn't do a lot. I played Cinderella, as I mentioned, in Chickenfox, and I also did a murder tour of Britain and Northern Ireland, a murder mystery tour thing. And then I did a couple of tellies. I did an episode of Casualty. I lay down on the bed practically the whole thing.
You made it the role?
Yeah, oh yes, I had another headache, I had to lie down. And I did a very small part in a series called Natural Pursuits that Alan Bates was in, which was wonderful. I had a very tiny part, which was great fun to do. And as I say, since then I've got married and I have a daughter, and before I had my daughter, we went around the world for 5 months, which was wonderful. Australia, China, Thailand, India, lots of things. And I love travelling. It's sort of my bug, actually. I'm a keen traveller. So I've enjoyed doing that.
Well, not travelling, it's hard,
I know, you see. Dog somewhere. And I very much enjoy my home. I'm a great home person. It's a bit like my castle. I draw the drawbridge up, and I just like being at home. I'm not one of these people who's very keen to get out and in front of people all the time. I love decorating, and I'm always painting. Drive my husband up always. What are you painting now? Oh, just repainting this, that, the other. There's always pots of paint with it. And I like gardening. And I'm very interested in, although I haven't done much recently, calligraphy. I did a calligraphy course, and I'd quite like to do some more of that when I get the time. Now my daughter's been older, I can, but when she was a little toddler, you just can't have pots of ink and pens and things on your face, because art is in trouble. So I haven't done as much recently, but I'd like to do more of that.
And a little bit of something that you have a favourite TV programme, Mathew?
What would that be?
Go on, tell us why you do not like.
Yes, Star Trek. Sorry. I got his letter to Lion saying you've got to throw things in the bin. You've got to say your worst moment of Doctor Who, something you hate about Doctor Who, or some episode that you hate about Doctor Who. I thought, well, I like it. I like it all. I like it when the sets wobble. I like it. I like all the silly monsters. I like all the overacting. I'm very proud of my overacting. I'm proud of it. I love it all. It's brilliant. Every moment of it. The sillier, the better. I love it all. So I thought, I can't even bin 1 second Doctor Who. I've got to keep it all. So I thought instead I would bin the great Star Trek. It's great. I happened to get to see one that they've begun rerunning them, apparently, and I saw one with an actor, with a character called Mr. Mudd, who had actually done an American convention with years ago. The actor played Mr. Mudd, and he was very sweet, but I did sit there thinking, oh dear, what a show. So I'm afraid, some poor fellow, or something, and Star Trek, The New Voyagers 2. Which there must have been a New Voyagers 1, I missed it. I don't know if there's a New Voyagers 3, which is full of splendid short stories, so I regret that some poor fellow or some lady is going to be stuck with them. So let's shove them. Ow! You might, you still hold it? So that's Star Trek for you.
So it's gone. Right, so perhaps we could take some questions from the audience. What do you reckon? You up for it?
Yes, go on.
Come on.
Oh,
Well
I'm
done.
going to stand up.
Thank you.
Sarah, considering that vastly famous and vastly history, did you ever wish you had a story where you finally got your own back?
The question was, did I wish I had a story where I finally got my own back on the master, considering all of the other things he did? I hadn't actually thought about it, but it's a very good idea, and it would have made a good story, I think. But yes, he needs to be sorted out, doesn't he?
Yes.
And I'd like to be the person to do it. Sonic screwdriver or something nasty, something sharp and pointed.
Poor master. God love them both. I mean, how different could you get? Oh, Tom is, I always adored him, and I adore his work. I like him as an actor, and I like and he has the great saving grace, really, of being funny, of making you laugh. But he was also frightening. He was frightening because I've been watching him since I was 12, and I adored him, adored the scarf, adored everything about him, and it was really frightening. And I was always a little intimidated by him. But he could be amazingly sweet. Peter is also amazingly sweet, but you can't imagine anybody more different. Peter is an incredibly together, isn't he?
Yeah.
Amazingly.
Easy person to work with.
Yeah, amazingly easy.
Likewise, I found Tom very, and I hadn't been working with him as long as Mathew had, so I came in right at the end, and I found him frightening and very intimidating. Apart from I'm very small, he's very tall. Yeah, he happened to ask me one day, where are you from? I said, well, Basingstoke. He's, oh, Miss Basingstoke. I was always called Miss Basingstoke, which upset me intensely. I don't know why he had this thing about Miss Basingstoke. So I was always called Miss Basingstoke. So I mean, so I didn't find a lot going along with the fact that I was new to the show and I was young and I was very nervous. It wasn't. I didn't find it an easy time. And when Peter joined, he was a very easy person to work with. Very generous actor. I found I sort of settled in much better.
Here we go.
Yeah, I did a play called Joking Apart. Is that the one? Yeah, so these bonfire parties are 3 bonfire parties, sort of 5 or I can't remember, 3 or 5 years apart, and it traces the development of these 7 characters. They're all next door neighbours. It traces their development from sort of meeting and getting along right to virtually everybody at the end of the play falling apart. Their lives fall apart. There's this perfect couple who have a very happy time, and then there are the sort of satellites around them, this priest and his wife and another couple whose lives just collapse into a heap. This priest who realises he's fallen in love with the next door neighbour, has lost his belief, and all these things. It's a great play, very funny, dark, one of Acorn's first dark plays. The Priest.
Any more questions? All over here. Nim?
Did you see me in a party political broadcast for the Labour Party?
This
No.
is our new Prime Minister.
Yes. No, is the answer. I've never been near a Labour Party political broadcast. Would I do one? I think I probably would, actually. A Labour one, I think I probably would, yes. Exactly, yes. Well, at the end of Earthshock, this is what happens if you vote for a Tory government.
Do we meet up with all the people we worked with? Is that the question? No, I mean, I haven't seen Mathew since we left the programme. We're talking, well, when God was a small boy, 82 or something, I don't know. I see Janet occasionally. I saw Janet and Peter just before Christmas. We had lunch together. in London, and we're supposed to be doing that again soon. But generally speaking, no, it's a real shame we don't see more of each other. That's why coming to conventions is so nice for us, because we actually get to catch up with people. I'm hoping to see Mark soon. I haven't seen him since my husband and I were in Australia when Mark lived there, and we spent New Year together drinking lots of Australian champagne. He was very drunk in the garden. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again. But generally, we don't see enough of each other, really.
No.
It's no secret that Peach Davison played your character to TJ. Did that create any problems of rivalry between you and Janet?
Do you say widely that? I mean, I wasn't aware of that at all. I've only heard that third and fourth hand in the last few years, really, that Peter said that he thought that his doctor worked best with Nissa. But it's not something I was aware of at the time, and certainly didn't affect the relationship with Janet. Out of the studio or in the studio. No, I certainly wasn't aware of it at the time.
You mentioned that a lot of time your character decided to lost your father and your stepmother on it. Yeah, every time we do the both of you, always seem to be very happy, smiling person. Was it very difficult to play somebody who would be the opposite of what he seems to be in real life? Somebody who would be doomed to hell because the master physics you never succeeded in getting apart.
I'm not a happy person. I'm sort of really miserable for the rest of the day now. I'm glad I come across quite a jolly person, because I can actually be a bit morose some of the time. But that's acting, you know. That's what the job is. To play someone you're not. That's what we're paid to do.
La-di-da.
Oh, did I?
Hey ho.
You give us a song now. Does my daughter watch Doctor Who? No. She's not quite 6 yet. And I tend to be a bit restricted about what she watches. But when we did Dimensions in Time, the Children in Need epic, she accidentally watched it. And I came in the sitting room and she pushed it in the video thing. She was sitting there watching it, and I sort of waited. She went, "Oh, Mummy, Mummy, monsters chasing Mummy." I thought, well, that just sums Doctor Who up, really. Mummy running, monsters chasing Mummy. She hit the nail right on the head, really. But she hasn't seen any of the other stories yet. No, she doesn't. She can't actually understand about me being on the television. I don't think she's caught on to that concept yet of me being someone else. But she was really chuffed because we had our picture in the Radio Times at Where Are They Now? It was a little tiny section on page 2 of the Radio Times. And they caught up with me, and the photographer came down to take a photograph of Hannah and myself in the garden. And she showed this to all of her school friends, and she was so chuffed that she'd been in the magazine. She doesn't know radio, she's in a magazine, so she thinks she's famous now.
With regards to your sort of abrupt ending in Earthshot, with the fact that it's surprising on you the way you're going to be killed off, did you feel at the time you wanted to leave, but then it was surprising on your side, said to you, "Oh God, it's time for a change"?
Oh no, I knew I was going to leave. I'd known at the beginning of the season, I think. They'd renewed my contract twice already, so I think that's a part of, I wonder, I mean, a part of me, I'm not sure, if I'm going to answer that, I'm not sure whether I really wanted to leave or whether, if they hadn't got rid of me, I'd have stayed forever. I'm not sure. Tony Ainley once said, "Oh, Mathew, if they'd only signed me up with this for the rest of my life, I'd never do anything else." I wonder if I would have been some dreadful person who signed up to it and would still be doing it now in his dotage, or whether I would actually have left around that time anyway. I'm not entirely sure.
Because we were so much younger then, it's very difficult to look back on decisions you might have made then and you would make now, knowing what you know. It's so I think we were quite young. I think I was quite a young 19-year-old. I mean,
yes.
Certainly not like a lot of 19-year-olds I know very streetwise. I wasn't that type of 19-year-old, and so things look at things very differently.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. I was not only 18 years old, but very young 18 years old. Incredibly shy, awkward. But I think the nice quality that that gives to those shows and to those characters, to Adric and to Nissa as characters, is this incredible vulnerability, which isn't faked. And it's not just vulnerability in the sense of, oh, there's a monster, so you scream and run away. There's an innate vulnerability to them. They're fidgety and vulnerable presences. And I like that, because I think that's a nice, attractive and human and truthful quality about the way kids are. The more brash and arrogant and big mouth they are often, the more vulnerable and shy they really are. I think that's quite sweet, and I think that's something nice that Adric and Nissa had. And I think they had a nice relationship that worked quite well.
Any more hands?
Time for a couple more.
Two more. So go in the middle of it. Yes?
Did you see Paul McGann last year? And it's what did you think of it?
Well, I can answer that quite quickly. Did we see the Paul McGann film? No, I didn't. So that's the broken contact. But I understand it was aimed very much at the American market. And there's a lot of explaining about what the Doctor was, the two hearts, all that sort of thing, which was probably very boring for English audiences. Did you see it?
I did. I actually enjoyed it very much. When I heard they were doing an American version, I thought, oh, what a nightmare. And then there was some gossip, I don't know if this is true, that they were going to have David Hasselhoff, Nightline.
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
Baywatch was going to be
yes.
it. I don't know if that's true, if that was ever serious, but I heard that, oh no, don't do it, God, please. But then I saw it and I really thought it was really good, and I thought they had done it with real integrity.
Yeah.
My problem with it, my only tiny problem with it, which people here might not agree with, was that because it was a 12 certificate, and it was apparently nearly a 15 certificate, and had to be edited for content in order to be a 12. My view is that though Doctor Who has always appealed to grown-ups, and I understand that, and I think the fact that grown-ups like it is wonderful, but I don't think it should ever exclude children. I don't think, in other words, Doctor Who should ever be a programme that you would say, that's not suitable for children. So I was a little uncomfortable about the idea of Doctor Who being a programme aimed for pretty much for people over 15. Because I think Doctor Who should always be... there used to be, when I was a kid, there was a quote on the back of the paperbacks. The children's own programme that adults adore. And I think I was a little worried that they might have lost sight of that sense of Doctor Who. It's a programme that grown-ups adore, that's fine. But that to an extent belongs to children. When I was a kid, when I was 6 and 8 and 10 years old, Doctor Who was my show. It wasn't my father's show or my mother's show, it was my sister's show. And if we went out on a Saturday afternoon and we had to drive home really fast to get home so Mathew could see Doctor Who, it was my show. And I don't like the idea that now a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old actually wouldn't, technically, if you look at the certificate, wouldn't be allowed to watch it. I think that's a loss. I think that, and if that tone continued in any series that might or might not happen, I think that would be a loss. But I enjoyed it very much. I think Paul McGann's fab.
Yes,
and I think Sylvester is wonderful. I mean, I think Sylvester's wonderful anyway, but I think he's just wonderful. I think it's splendid entertainment.
It's a nice point to finish with. Time's up, time we weren't here. Time for someone else.